Thank you, Wendy. What a warm introduction. Thank you, everyone. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all that have streamed in. And I'm here representing Bank South Africa on behalf of my CEO, Mr. Jan Pilbauer. And I would want to say a warm welcome to the captains of industries that have tuned in, to my fellow Bank South Africans that are listening, to all that have streamed in. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present to you artificial intelligence. And when I talk artificial intelligence, basically my presentation will be trying to take you where I'm defining what artificial intelligence is all about, the business value that can be derived from artificial intelligence, its adoption within the financial services, and its uses within the financial services sector and other sectors. Yes, my topic, as Wendy has introduced, is a path of inclusion and mitigation, data and enabler for artificial intelligence and biometrics. Of course, when we talk artificial intelligence, some of you are thinking, is this monster going to replace my career? Is this a friend? Is this an enemy? Is this a foe? I am not going to answer that, but I'm hoping after my presentation, you would have had answers. So that's where I begin. And I start with this to say, is it a friend? Is it a foe? Or is it an enemy? Or is it something that we need to embrace within our environment? I cannot begin to talk about it prior I define what the Gartner or the academics are saying of artificial intelligence. And they are saying artificial intelligence applies advanced analysis and logic-based techniques to interpret events, support and automate. So when you talk interpret events, you can tell there's an element that it needs to interpret from, and that is what we call data. And it supports. So who is it supporting? When it supports, we talk human beings. So artificial intelligence supports human beings in interpreting events. And then what does it do? It means it augments your decision making. And that is why you cannot separate artificial intelligence to augmented intelligence. So that is why we are saying we are augmented when we use artificial intelligence. So our reasoning is augmented, and hence you cannot separate it from the human factor. So that's artificial intelligence. And what is augmented intelligence saying? Augmented intelligence, as described by the academics, it's a design pattern for human-centered partnership. And you listen to the word partnership model of people and artificial intelligence. So we partner with artificial intelligence. And that is why I love artificial intelligence so much, because it partners with human beings. And why? Why should organizations invest in artificial intelligence? Of course, why should we invest in artificial intelligence? Of course, we need to look into what is happening across globally, what is happening with artificial intelligence. Yes, we recognize that the business value of artificial intelligence has reached 5.1 billion, but would have reached 5.1 billion by 2025. I'm not talking rands here, I'm talking dollars. I'm not talking nairas, I'm not talking any other, I'm talking dollars. So that should tell you the big investment that this tool is going through. And then we go through globally, how many CIOs have adopted artificial intelligence? It has been shown that 23% of CIOs claim to have already deployed artificial intelligence. That is by 2021. This is globally, not only South Africa. Unfortunately, I do not have the stats of South Africa. Then you look at the organizations themselves. How many organizations globally have embraced artificial intelligence? We have 51% of organizations that says they have deployed artificial intelligence to do financial risk analysis of their project, considering that projects are one consumers of our budget, and they normally fail. And that is why they are using artificial intelligence, because it augments the intelligence that is embedded within projects. So now I'm going to move over to what are the game changers in this industry? What are the key game changers? If you look at what is happening out there, artificial intelligence is taking the entire, is the first. As when you look at your cloud, you look at your machine learning, you look at your cybersecurity, you look at all of that, you look at your cloud deployment, artificial intelligence is ahead of the game changers within the financial sectors. And that is why it's embraced. And you ask yourself, if it's ahead, should we embrace it or not? I'm not sure. You'll get your answer as I complete my presentation. So when you look at artificial intelligence, you cannot separate it from machine learning, because machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. It deals with pattern that learns from data. And that is why you've not seen it in the trend, because it's part of the artificial intelligence. And you look at the banking sector, how are they using artificial intelligence? Yes, it has been adopted by the banking sector. So the banking sector already has use cases that can be adopted by any banking sector. It has use cases in the customer satisfaction surveys, analysis. And if you think the banking sector deals with customers, and that is why they'll want to build use cases in that sphere, you have 47%. Then you have in customer analytics, you have 41% of it. You have customer loyalty analysis. Of course, you want loyalty. They want loyalty from their customers. You have 44%. They're also using it in the other side in terms of cost benefit management. In the cost benefit management, they look at the risk management of it, which it helps them to manage their risk. 42% is use cases that are helping with it. And the other one is on revenue optimization. So that is on the cost benefit assessment. Then we move over to the revenue optimization. On the revenue optimization, they have built use cases where it looks at customer portfolio management. It also looks at price communication. So those use cases can be adopted and be enquined to respond to all areas. And that is the global sector of it. I move over to the industry now that I am representing, your financial services and insurance. Do we have use cases? What are the drivers of artificial intelligence in this sector? In this sector, you look at what is driving artificial intelligence. Definitely customer services, because you deal with your customers. You deal with your customers. You need to make decisions on how you change your product. Sometimes it becomes very complex, and artificial intelligence can help you to make complex decision making, and it supports in terms of that. You also have autonomous processing, where some things are autonomous, which you wouldn't want to be trying to find yourself in those processes. Artificial intelligence helps with that. Pricing and enablement, you want to find yourself pricing your products properly. And you would not want to do market research on your own, trying to go and interview people. What do you think of this? And then eventually come up with something. AI helps us to be able to do that. And as you do that, we cannot run away that there are drivers that help in terms of addressing responsible artificial intelligence. And those are your compliance and regulatory requirements, your brand and reputation preservation, and your consumer trust. So you cannot run away from the consumer trust. You need to be trusted by the consumers of your product. And then we look into what can artificial intelligence do for you? And then you're asking yourself, can this really do something for my environment? Of course it can. And what does it do? It helps, especially when it comes to data, and I've spoken about data, to say, how do you use your data? How do you frame your problems? What do you do? So artificial intelligence, it's able to take your data, help you to frame a problem, prepare the data in a sense that you're able to develop and evaluate it and deploy it to the audience, different audiences, targeting the right audience without having to take the audience that is not related to a certain problem and target it with that problem. And as you measure and evolve, it helps you as a company to strategize and plan going forward. So that's the artificial intelligence for you. It helps you to have right target audience. And that is why of course, you need to invest in it. And are you talking robots here, Portia, or what? Are we going to be replaced, or what is happening? No. As I said, we're talking augmentation. It augments my intelligence. And when it augments it, you look at the people that are involved. For example, when you look at our industry, especially the financial sector, we're talking product. So you require your product manager to be there. You require your business expert domain to also work in this field. You need your data engineers. You need your AI engineers, you need your AI architects, you need your data scientists. Those are new skills that we are building. So we are not talking robots. We are augmenting the skills that we have. We are building new capability within our sector. And that is why I love artificial intelligence, because it's helping us grow. What could go wrong? As much as this technology is one of those technologies that, wow, it's helping us to look forward to doing things better, but a lot of things can go wrong. And I want to touch on what can go wrong within the artificial intelligence space. So in terms of artificial intelligence, what can go wrong? It's, for example, identity theft, biometric identification, reducing financial fraud through detection, and stuff like that. So a lot of things can go wrong if it's not deployed properly. So what you need to do is, customers are saying if anything goes wrong, or half of the consumers believe organization providing or using the artificial intelligence should be held accountable if AI goes wrong. And I do support them, because remember, what happens is it uses data, it uses information that it gets from what has been fed. So if I'm classified wrongly and something, it comes to my detriment, if that classification works to my detriment, who must account? The company that has used the data. And that is why half of the consumers believe the organization providing artificial intelligence should be held accountable. And why? And I will take you through the scenario. As I said, the technology is based on algorithms that learn how to recognize human faces. So the technology is fed data, and that data is able to then say, this is Portia, or this is Wendy, or this is Jessica. It's able to do that. So now the other thing that it does is able to also do facial recognition. And if done inappropriately, or it can give wrong information. You know, face recognition algorithms have a poor accuracy record when it comes to identifying certain faces, especially non-white faces. And the reason for that is because the research conducted, and we all need to appreciate that South Africa, we're not good in R&D, and most of our products we normally import. So then the data that is fed is not the data that will normally be a non-white African data or African data. So we have, for example, this is an example of what can go wrong. The first case was in Michigan, when a man was arrested for a crime he did not commit. Is because the facial recognitions that were given. And when you start investing in such research, that is where now you take so many faces, you feed it into the data, and is able to identify the faces. And that is why consumers are saying you take responsibility of whatever that you're using. So those are the things that can go wrong within your artificial intelligence. And that is where, as South Africans and as Africa as a whole, we need to invest in such kind of research so that we don't find ourselves being held accountable because of the data that has been fed in the system. So again, I go back to the banking and financial services sector to say this sector, how, for example, do they use it? You know, for example, in this sector, they're using it for fraud detection, insider trading, collusion. It helps in terms of that, anti-money laundering. If you look at the traditional programs, the alerts that have been used, they have generally had a success rate of 2% of what was happening. And with artificial intelligence, with the advanced algorithms that are used within artificial intelligence, it reduces false alerts, which also are uncovering potential issues that might relate to theft. So it helps in terms of that. And if you look at the traditional methods that were used initially on prior artificial intelligence, of all those cases that were flagged as insuspicious, ultimately reflect a true crime or malicious intent. And that is why now you'll think you need this. But also, when you're using this, I'm cautioning you around ethnicity, gender, like I've said before in my previous slide, to say it feeds on data, your age. It can classify me as being probably 60 because of the data that it feeds. So you really need to be careful of what type of data are you using when you're talking artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, as we adopt it, we look into, I cannot then shy away from the fact that when we're talking artificial intelligence, we need now to introduce concepts such as digital identity, which digital identity will help us, especially in our financial sector. When we talk financial sector, we talk financial services. We need to include everyone. We've had government talking about financial inclusion. How do we achieve it, especially in rural areas, in the poorest of the poor? How do we ensure financial inclusion? I think digital identity is one of those things that can help us achieve that. And what is digital identity? A digital identity is a legal biometrics-based equivalent of an individual identity card, which can be used to prove an individual identity. How does it work? For example, digital identity cuts across all sectors. It cuts across your economic sector, it cuts across your financial sector, it cuts across your social sector. For example, if we all have a digital identity, I don't need to be carrying my green identity book that should reveal my age if I'm talking green identity books or your smart ID. But anyway, you don't need to be carrying that. You simply go to any hospital, they're able to get your patient records by just using your digital identity. Then I go to the bank using the same digital identity. They're not going to see my patient record. They're able to see my account records. You go to your financial services sector, your insurance sector, they're able to see your account records. It's a digital identity. And I think that's what we require within South Africa, where we cannot be carrying so many identities to identify with ourselves, which at times that identity can be stolen and it comes at a detriment to your reputation, So now I think there is a need for digital identity in our world. And countries are leading. You have Canada that is leading in digital identity. What is the value that can be derived from digital identity? It can help, especially in our sector, in increasing transaction volumes, increasing transaction complexity, rising customer expectations, also helping with the most stringent regulatory requirements and increasing speed of financial services. And then we looked at this and we are saying as Bank South Africa, as a mutual, and also we're talking about financial inclusion, how do we then fast track digital identity? Because we see it as a game changer and this is how we are responding. As Bank South Africa, we are responding to say, yes, we want to help in terms of this. How do we do that? Is to give South Africa a flexible, upgraded payments infrastructure, enabling a hyper-connected digital economy. And that is why you see me talking about the digital identity. It's one of those programs that we are trying to bring in to help in terms of elevating financial inclusion. So we've come up with a lot of programs, but my focus will be on digital identity. Some of the programs we're bringing in is Rapid Payment Program. Then we have Self-Sovereign Project, we have Identity Payments Vault, and we have a digital identity strategy, which is my focus for today. So now, what is the future value or the moment of impact on our digital identity? And that is where now I'm taking it back to artificial intelligence. A digital identity, how can it help you? It will help us to prevent identity theft, like I have said, biometric authentication, multi-factor authentication for more secure verification, reducing financial fraud through detection and sensitive data protection, also nanosecond response, time to potential threat. So that's the digital identity. And that is why we are so passionate about it as Bank South Africa, to make sure that this technology eventually reaches the financial sector. And how can it help? For example, you're talking about social sector, Portia, you're talking about the grants. Firstly, when you talk about the social grant beneficiaries, how can it help them? It can help them to self-board themselves remotely, rapid verification while mitigating risk. The verification of the social grant, I must say, I was at the South African Post Office. It's pathetic in terms of how you get to verify somebody if this is a true beneficiary of that grant. And that is why you see a lot of fraud in that space. And with digital identity, one can be able to circumvent that. You have low friction vetting of beneficiaries, mobile and deep reach in the market. So that's the social grant beneficiary. It's a use case that we can use for digital identity. And what are you saying, Portia? I am saying artificial intelligence is not a threat to humans, but complementing us. It's augmented intelligence. I'll definitely love to be augmented in my intelligence. And there is massive value in digital identity as an enabler of financial inclusion. And lastly, I want to say AI has a significant role to play in digital identity in terms of onboarding, financial inclusion, bringing society together, and curbing fraud. On that note, I want to bow out and say thank you to the audience. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Portia. I listened intently because I get so many emails from people who have been victims of fraud. They contact the credit provider or the retailer to tell them that they listen, or they've had a call or an SMS from a debt collector to say you owe this company, whatever, and they said it wasn't me. And there are many hoops that they have to jump through. They have to go and get an affidavit, and most of them feel very aggrieved about that I'm the victim. Why are you making me jump through all these hoops? So what I would like to know is, and I'm sorry if it's a stupid question, I understand the concept of AI and it augmenting, but how exactly in practical terms does that digital identity actually work for somebody like that, in terms of proving that they aren't the person that opened that account, if you know what I mean? So that, what is the practical application? Because that's very exciting for me.
Thank you, Wendy. And there is no any other stupid question or any other. So basically what digital identity does, so it's something that it's unique. It's a unique identifier of an individual. We normally say your ID is a unique identifier, but we have seen what happens with those Maya IDs. It doesn't identify unique, and that is why it's stolen. It's something that resides within you. It's known. So it's cracked by the back. For example, when I go to the hospital and they use a certain number to crack it, then it identifies Portia as a person and me as an individual, showing my face, showing my features and everything. So it's able to define me. Unlike now, if somebody has it and then uses it, then it defines Wendy. And Wendy happens to be white, I happen to be black, then already my way, it's already picked up. So that's the reason now why we can go digital identity, because it brings Portia for who she is.
Okay, so very much going to be another weapon, very strong weapon to use against fraudsters, because all that authenticity then lies within your identity.
Exactly.
And can be accessed. Okay.
Yes, true.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Like everything else today, let's hope that rolls out sooner rather than later, because yeah, it's a big fight and we need to bring everything to it. Thanks again very much.
And thank you, Wendy. And I must say, I'm humbled to be part of this audience. Thank you, everyone. I'm not sure if there's any questions coming from the audience, but thank you.